Welcome to Module 3 of the TCCC-Plus course, Day 1. Here we really start getting into the M part of March, where we learn to recognise life-threatening bleeds and how to choose the right control method for the wound and for the phase. As we have covered, fragmentation injuries are an increasing share of combat injuries, and the ones we can do something about are commonly on the limbs because personal protective equipment covers the trunk. A person can bleed to death from a limb wound in a few minutes, less time than it takes to call a medic and wait for one. That means the casualty, or the person next to them, has to control the bleeding themselves. Luckily, limb bleeds are, in general, the easiest to treat. The M in March tells you that it is massive bleeding you are hunting for, mostly from the big arteries in the arms and the legs. In most cases, this is obvious and not at all subtle. Here is a quick and dirty field test. If you can take the casualty's pulse from the spurting, if there are pools of blood, or if blood is already clotting on the ground, that is massive hemorrhage, and it is fatal in minutes if you do not stop it. It spurts from the wound, it soaks the clothing or your dressings, or it pools underneath. The same goes for amputations. A little later, as shock sets in, the casualty goes pale, cold, and confused, and the bleeding slows down, because there is not enough blood left in the body to bleed with. To put the speed of this into perspective, an average adult carries only about 5 to 6.5 litres of blood, and a single thigh can hide a litre or more with no open wound at all. An open limb bleed empties the tank faster than you would think. If you see no major bleeding, confirm it with a blood sweep, as we covered, groin to ankle, armpit to wrist, both sides. Look and feel where you cannot see. The sweep finds what the uniform hides. Once you find a massive bleed, match the method of control to the wound and to the situation. A life-threatening limb bleed gets a tourniquet. A junctional bleed in the groin, the armpit, or the neck gets packed with pressure because there is nowhere to put a tourniquet. A neck tourniquet is reserved for someone you really don't like. There is such a thing as a junctional tourniquet, but we won't cover it further here. Smaller bleeds wait. The principle underneath all of it is the same. Every one of these methods is direct pressure delivered where the bleeding is. A tourniquet presses the artery shut from the outside. Packing presses on the bleeding point from the inside. Exactly how we will cover in their own lessons. It is worth noting, though, that the way you use a tourniquet differs between phases. Recognize the difference between the high and tight, hasty tourniquet and cuff, and a deliberate tourniquet later. Here is an overview of injury sites and control measures. Note that the percentages vary between studies and sources. Again, limbs get tourniquets. Junctions, the groin, the armpit, and the neck, get packed because a tourniquet has nothing to squeeze against. The trunk is supportive measures and surgery only. Nothing you carry fixes bleeding inside the chest or the belly. Match the tool to the zone. As mentioned, interventions while under fire are simple and they skip the decision tree. Only life-threatening limb bleeds get treated with a tourniquet high and tight over the uniform. In tactical field care, you can run the full flow, pack junctional wounds, and reassess and reconsider the care under fire tourniquet. You can even convert a tourniquet to wound packing or move it further down towards the wound. In evacuation, watch for rebleeding from movement, vibration, and time, and remember that no intervention is a permanent fix. Any of them can come undone. The honest standard from the surgeons who lived through high-casualty urban war is that no one should bleed to death from a limb wound. There may be a tactical problem reaching them, but the wound itself is survivable. So let's look at the common errors in massive hemorrhage work. Reaching for a dressing when you need a tourniquet. A plain bandage is a blood sponge, not arterial control. Packing a wound under fire instead of getting a tourniquet on and fighting back. And not rechecking a bleed you thought you had controlled. Now for the recap. Recognize bleeding fast, spurting, soaking, pooling, amputation, shock. Limb, tourniquet. Junctional, pack. Minor, wait. Under fire, tourniquet, then fight or move. And reassess, because rebleeding is a real risk. Thanks for watching TCCC Plus for non-medics, Day 1, Module 3, Massive Hemorrhage. Next up is Module 4, Tourniquet Application.